So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 20 minutes. Okay, and today we are going to be covering September 3rd, 2024's newspapers. All right, and the important news items in today's newspaper that we need to keep in mind for our civil services examination are as following. Okay, so let's take a look at today's topics. Number one topic is Digital Agricultural Mission. Recently, Union Cabinet approved Digital Agricultural Mission. What is this about? How will it improve agricultural sector in India? We'll talk about this. Then there was this article regarding e-Shram Portal. Basically, the government made an announcement regarding the success of e-Shram Portal. So, what is e-Shram Portal? How will it help informal workers in India? We'll talk about this. Then, recently, President of India, Draupadi Murmu ji, she was attending a conference in which she talked about the problems with Indian judiciary, the problem of delay in justice. And as the famous saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. So this problem in our judiciary regarding delays in delivery of justice, she named that problem black coat syndrome. So this black coat syndrome, how deep the problem is in India, we'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about the civil war situation going on in Sudan. It is a very serious situation because it will have serious geopolitical ramifications. So we'll talk about Sudan, okay? And what is the situation in Sudan and what can we think the future might look like? Okay, so we'll talk about these four issues. So beginning with Digital Agricultural Mission, let's start this lecture. Okay, so what was in the news regarding Digital Agricultural Mission? So Union Cabinet approved 2,817 crore Digital Agricultural Mission. Under this Digital Agricultural Mission, the government will build digital public infrastructure in the agricultural sector, in the farm sector. Now, what is basically digital public infrastructure? As we all know what infrastructure is something, an asset on which a particular sector of the economy works. So transport sectors work on roads, right? So road is an infrastructure. All the factories in our country work on electricity. So electricity is infrastructure. All right. People live in houses, so housing infrastructure, right? But those infrastructure which are digital in nature, which support a particular sector of the economy, but they are not physical assets, they are digital assets. They are known as digital public infrastructure. Now, why do we include the word public in this? Well, for a very simple reason that these are government infrastructure that the government is providing us. Okay, so it is digital in nature, so that means it is not physical asset, it is a digital asset. It is public, that means the government has made it for the entire public, and it is infrastructure. Why? Because it is supporting a particular sector of the economy. Okay, so the examples of digital public infrastructure includes UPI, which supports online payments, Aadhaar, which supports direct benefit transfer, right? DigiLocker. All these things are examples of digital public infrastructure. Now, government wants to bring digital public infrastructure in the agricultural sector also. Government wants to build DPI in agricultural sector also. And for that, government has launched Digital Agricultural Mission. It is 2,817 crore mission. Now, this Digital Agricultural Mission has three major components. Agri Stack, Krishi DSS, Decision Support System, we have talked about this, and Soil Profile Maps. Okay, we'll talk about each of these three components in detail in a few minutes. Okay, but first, this line is important because MCQs might be asked from this. The entire funding for this project won't be made by central government. Central government would only contribute 1,940 crore rupees. The rest would come from state governments and UTs. All right. Now let's talk about each of these pillars of DPI or Digital Agricultural Mission in detail. Okay. So first we'll talk about Agri Stack. So what is basically Agri Stack? Agri Stack is a stack, or basically it is a collection of digital technologies for farming sector, for farm sector. So all the digital technologies, major digital technologies for farm sector, for agricultural sector would be combined into Agri Stack. So this farm-centric DPI Agri Stack consists of three foundational things. Okay, so basically Agri Stack contains, for agriculture, Agri Stack contains three major things. It contains farmers registry, like we have UIDAI, like India has Aadhaar database for every citizen. Similarly, we'll have a farmers registry, okay, which will contain all the information about all the farmers in our country. Like UIDAI Aadhaar database, every person is given an Aadhaar ID, right? Similarly, farmers would be given farmer ID. Government is doing this so that government can track each and every farmer. So farmers registry would be created under which a unique identification number would be given to each farmer ID. Then geo-reference village maps. Now village maps will be created in which all the data regarding farm fields in a particular village would be stocked, and geographical information would also be put in there. So what is the soil type, what is the climate situation there in that village on that farmland. For the entire country, this geo-reference village maps would be created, and information regarding crop zones. Crop zone. So in different parts of the country, in different geographies of our country, different crops are sown. That data will also be stored online. Now this is Agri Stack. Three major components of Agri Stack. Then there is Krishi Decision Support System. The entire geographical information regarding a particular region, or the entire geographical information regarding farmlands in India, like the information on crops, soil, weather, water resources, everything would be at one place. And that place would actually help farmers make decisions regarding what type of crop they should grow, because they'll have information regarding their soil, water resources. So they'll be able to make better decisions. So Krishi DSS is there. And the government will create soil profile maps all over the country. Under this mission, detailed soil profile maps on a 1 to 10,000 scale of about 142 million hectares of agricultural land are to be prepared. All right. Plus, along with these three pillars of the mission, there is one more survey that is going to be conducted under Digital Agricultural Mission. And this is Digital General Crop Estimation Survey. Now, what is this Digital General Crop Estimation Survey? Government would actually store, first of all, government would collect and store data regarding production of different crops like rice, wheat, right? Rice, wheat, maize, cotton, different crops. Their production data will be stored online. Okay. Now, this data will help government agencies make schemes, services such as paperless MSP-based procurement, crop insurance, credit-linked crop loans. This information shall help government implement these schemes. Why? Because government would now have better data regarding the production of each and every crop in different parts of the country. Okay. This particular survey will also help in crop diversification. How? Let's suppose government gets the data that rice is grown rampantly in different parts of the country. So rice, we have a surplus problem in rice. So government would ask farmers to diversify from rice and grow other crops. Okay. That is about it. Okay, so Digital General Crop Estimation Survey. So this is our digital agricultural mission. All right. Now let's straight away jump to second news item, which is e-Shram Portal. Now, government recently made an announcement. What was that announcement? The National Database of Informal Sector Workers, e-Shram Portal, has crossed 30 crore registrations. Now, it has been just 3 years since e-Shram Portal was launched. It was launched in 2021. And within 3 years, 30 crore informal workers have been registered. Now, this data was provided by Labour Ministry because Labour Ministry was the one which launched e-Shram Portal. Now, why was this portal launched? Look, there are two types of workers in India. Okay, one are formal workers. So, formal workers generally work in organized enterprises, and then there are informal workers like domestic servants, street hawkers, and construction workers, right? Daily wage workers. These are informal workers. Now, as far as formal workers are concerned, they get the benefit of health insurance, they get the benefit of Provident Fund, they get the benefit of EPFO, they get many social security benefits, right? But informal workers, daily wage workers do not get these benefits. So, government actually launched various welfare schemes and social security schemes for informal workers. But the problem in implementing those schemes was that government did not know how many informal workers are there, which particular worker is informal and which particular worker is not. Government did not have the data for informal workers. If government wants to target informal workers, government at least should have a list of these informal workers, right? So only then government would help them with various welfare schemes that they launch, right? So government launched e-Shram Portal, under which informal workers would get registered. Government would be able to track each and every informal worker here, and then welfare benefits would be provided to them. All right. So this was e-Shram Portal. It was launched by Ministry of Labour and Employment on August 26, 2021. The aim was to register 38 crore unorganized or informal workers, such as construction laborers, migrant workforce, street vendors, domestic workers, among others. Now, the workers, each and every worker registered on e-Shram Portal would get a 12-digit unique number. so as to identify them. Like each and every citizen is identified through Aadhaar ID. Similarly, each and every unorganized worker, informal worker, will be identified through this. The objective is to provide these informal workers with social security and welfare benefits through various schemes that the government launches. All right, make sense? So that's about it regarding e-Shram portal. Now let's jump to black coat syndrome. Now, where did this terminology come from? This terminology was actually coined by President Draupadi Murmu. President Draupadi Murmu sought to highlight the problem of delay in justice in her speech at a two-day national conference of district judges. So there was this two-day national conference of district judiciary, and President Draupadi Murmu was addressing that conference. In that, she highlighted the problem of delay in justice and called that problem black coat syndrome. Black coat is generally worn by judges and lawyers, right? She spoke of poor people of the villages being reluctant to go to court, fearing the financial and mental strain of prolonged judicial process. That poor people actually refrain from going to courts because they know that their money is going to get spent a lot, plus they won't get justice quickly. Poor people won't get justice quickly because it is going to take a lot of time. Justice gets delayed in India in various cases. So their money is going to be spent, a lot of money is going to be spent, plus they might not receive justice within a short span of time. It would take so much time, and that would cause mental harassment. That is why poor people decide to settle matters out of the court. Okay, now this is the problem. Why? Because president says that poor people's faith in Indian judiciary would decline if this situation continues. Okay, therefore president called for a solution to this problem. Okay, it called for a solution to this culture of adjournment. Adjournment means what the famous Hindi film dialogue Tariq pe Tariq. The court adjourns and shifts the matter to another date. Right? That is what causes delay in justice. So this black coat syndrome or culture of adjournment should be fixed if we want to restore the faith of poor people in India's judiciary. That's what President Draupadi Murmu said. Now the thing is, how deep is the problem? How much of a big problem is this? Right? So extent of this problem. Now, there are a lot of cases that are already pending in India's judiciary. As per National Judicial Data Grid record, over 5 crore cases are pending across different levels of judiciary. District level, High Court level, Supreme Court level, more than 5 crore cases are already pending. Now, that is a problem. And why are these cases pending? Well, because we have a shortage of judges. We have a shortage of courts. At just 15 judges per 10 lakh population, the figure is far less than 50 judges per 10 lakh recommended by 120th report of Law Commission in 1987. So way back, when India's population was still lower than what it is today, in 1987, 120th report of Law Commission said that the ratio should be 50 judges per 10 lakh people. But it is still 15 judges per 10 lakh people. And because of that, justice gets delayed. Plus, there is also shortage of support staff in the courts. Okay, so this is how deep the problem is. All right, and that is why we need to find a solution as quickly as possible. We need to increase the number of judges. We need to increase the number of fast track courts. Okay, we need to improve the number of support staff. Make sense, right? Okay. Now let's move on to our last fourth news item of the day, but a very serious one: 500 days of Sudan war. Now, there is a civil war in Sudan. Two factions who want to form government in Sudan, two military generals are currently fighting for power in Sudan. And the war has been going on for more than 500 days now, and it has led to the death of at least thousands of people. Now, the war broke out in April 2023 as a direct result of power struggle between two generals. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who is head of SAF forces of the army, General Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, who is head of RSF forces. Okay, now this war has been going on. Now, the thing is, what's the background of this war? So what happened was, in 2019, a long-time president of Sudan called President Omar al-Bashir was overthrown by widespread protest against him. Okay, so people actually protested against Omar al-Bashir and he was ousted. Now, when he was ousted, a temporary arrangement was made until fresh elections were to be conducted. Okay, so the promise was made that after Omar al-Bashir is ousted, fresh elections would be conducted, but till that time, a temporary government should be installed with Abdullah Hamdok as the prime minister. But the new arrangement lasted for a very short period of time. two military generals who were friends back then, Burhan and Dagalo, they carried out a military coup before the elections in October 2021 and overthrew Abdullah Hamdok. Okay. Now the military generals appointed themselves. Okay. These two military generals were friends back then. And they said, we will conduct fresh elections in 2023. Till that time, we are in power. But as the elections date approached, both of them fought. Differences started to erupt between the two generals. And before the elections in July 2023, these two generals fought with each other. Earlier, they were friends. They actually fought against Abdullah Hamdok, Omar al Bashir, but now they are fighting for power. And because of that, civil war has erupted in Sudan. Armed forces loyal to Burhan are fighting, forces loyal to Dagalo are fighting, and they're fighting with each other. Okay? Make sense? Now, what are going to be the consequences of this war? Okay, the current situation in Sudan is very serious. Not official, but verified estimates say that 15,000 people have died, but unofficial estimates say that more than 40,000 might have died. It has become one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Plus, the Economist survey by the Economist says that if this problem continues, food scarcity would lead to death of 6 million to 10 million people. Okay, they might die due to starvation. But that is not the only issue. The issue is that this problem can spill over to neighboring countries and might cause a geopolitical problem. It can spill to neighboring countries of Sudan, such as Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, and their war can also trigger mass migration, mass exodus of people into Europe. And Europe won't be able to sustain that. Europe is already reeling under migration from different countries. Okay, refugee crisis is already there. This would further exacerbate the refugee crisis. Therefore, powerful countries like US, UK should step in and negotiate a ceasefire between the two warring factions. All right? That's about it. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it added value to your preparation, though it would add more value if you are regular and consistent with this lecture series. So, on that note, I'm going to sign off and see you next time with next day's current affairs. Thank you.